I am really excited for this video today because I am talking about manga that got me into shoujo. Talk about a trip down memory lane. Hello friends, I'm so very excited that you're here. It is day 5 of the 25 days of shoujo. If you haven't entered my giveaway already, be sure to go do that because I am giving away a Shoujo Manga starter pack and a Shoujo merch starter pack. Very, very excited. I feel like there's just overall general excitement because I was about to say I'm even more excited for this video, but I'm also really excited for that giveaway as well. But talking about today's video, I was doing research for the Makeup and Fashion Top 5 Wednesday video that I did last month. I was like seeing all of these manga that I had forgot that I had read, or at least forgot the time frame that I read. And so I was like, you know what? I'm on Goodreads. I'm gonna scroll all the way down to the bottom of this, of my, I think I call it my manga read list, I think. And I do apologize if I sound a little bit funny. Like my allergies have been really, really bad today. And I'm like, what is going on? But yes, I was on Goodreads, went all the way down, and I was just like, dude, I forgot that I had read some of these, like I said, during the time that I did. Because I definitely didn't forget that I had read these because these manga played a really big impact on my manga journey today. Now, I have shared in the past how my best friend when I was in middle school or high school, she introduced me to Mars, and that was ultimately like my first introduction to manga where I really read it. Like I did read Sailor Moon as a kid, like one volume. It wasn't even volume 1, but I didn't get the concept of manga. I just was like, wow, like this is a really cool book to have released in the United States. Like I had no idea of any of that. And then when I read Mars, I found out like this is manga, but still didn't know like demographics or anything like that. But then a few years later, I was in the Christian writers community, and I felt like, not necessarily because of the Christian writers community, but I was just fed up with this idea that as a Christian, I can't read manga. And I did talk about this in this video of like, should or can Christians read manga? So I went on this adventure, the very beginning adventure of trying to find manga that I felt I could read and wasn't going to be like evil or satanic or, you know, like burn in hell for the rest of my life kind of thing, because those were all things that I had been told at that time. Cue this recommendation list that I got in this Christian writers group, and the one that I decided to choose and basically was my first purposeful pick of a manga. I didn't realize it was a shoujo until I picked it up, but that was Library Wars, Love and War. This manga ultimately is the foundation. It shaped my manga reading journey today. I didn't even think about pulling it out. Like I have this series somewhere on my shelf here. Yes, Library Wars. I read this from my library, and it was one of the funnest reading experiences I have ever had. Like even to this day, I've definitely read other things like Takane and Hana, Otomen, that have made me laugh so incredibly much. I love those series. I have very fond memories of them, but the fondest memories I have is reading Library Wars. It was an utter delight. Like there's no other way that I can word it of how much I adore this series, of how much it impacted me, because I don't know at that time or if it was just Library Wars, I remember sitting on my recliner. Like I very vividly remember laughing, trying to smother my laughter because I was reading right next to my bedroom door and my husband was already asleep. And I told myself I never knew reading manga could be this fun. And I knew after I read this series that I was not going to want to stop there, that I was going to want to read more. And I feel like this series was even more impactful because at that time, before my husband and I were even watching anime, I was really into military movies. I was really into action movies. As much as I love shoujo romance now, at that time, I was not a huge romance reader. I mean, I loved romance in fiction that I was reading, but it was not like usually a purposeful choice where I'm like, you know what, I'm going to go out and read a romance novel. Usually it was like, no, I want a fantasy with romance in it. Now, I do remember enjoying like contemporary romance, but that was not my go-to at the time. And so when I read this, it was totally mind-blowing to me that I guess for a shoujo, I wasn't super, forgive me for my ignorance, but at the time, shoujo in my mind equaled this is for female readers. Like I'd had no other concept of it. And at that time, I thought that shoujo equaled just romance. I was so shocked when I read Library Wars, and I'm like, this is not just a romance. There is so much action. There's a little bit of mystery. There's lots of intensity. It felt like this was everything I was wanting as a shoujo manga reader. This set the bar even for years later, probably even now, that I'm still like, this is peak shoujo manga. It still has so many things in, I was gonna say genres, but I guess maybe genres combined it into one that I deeply love it. And when I was first starting out, I really struggled with like, if it didn't have all of the action, intensity, and the romance like Library Wars, I'm like, this manga just doesn't measure up. And I feel a little bit bad. I don't know after that if I picked up other things. I guess for an honorable mention, another shoujo manga that definitely made me who I am today is Mermaid Boys. That was the first shoujo manga, and I didn't even know it was actually a shoujo until like a year ago. But that was the first shoujo manga that I ever picked up, in manga in general, that I ever picked up at the bookstore. I went to the beach with my family for our family vacation. This had to be back in, hold on, I can tell you, 2018. This is back in 2018. I read Library Wars in 2018, and that summer I read Mermaid Boys. But we were at the beach with my family, and we went to Books A Million that was at a mall nearby. I was just browsing. I was like, okay, I love Library Wars. I'm invested. I want to know more. I was like, oh, mermaids, we're at the beach. I'm like, oh, maybe we could do like a photo op, or I just take a picture of me holding the book at the beach. Picked it up. I started, flipping through the beginning and started reading. And then I literally sat down in the store and read half of that manga, that first volume, within however long we were there. And it finally dawned on me when my friend came and got me, because she came with us to the beach. And I was like, I just sat down in a bookstore, which I had not ever done before then, and just started reading this manga. I just started reading it, and I got up and I was like, we are buying this, because no way could I put this back on the shelf. During that vacation, we were there for a week. I'm not really sure what day we went to the bookstore, but at that time frame, we'll say at least 4 more days we were there. I read it at least 2 more times after that. And I have since, well, I don't have it anymore. For some reason, in one of my cleaning frenzies, I got rid of it. And I'm like, why did you do that, Laura? Why did you do that? Because that manga really did shape who I am today, and really just realizing again, like Library Wars, of how amazing and incredible manga is. And it's sort of just definitely snowballed. So I'd say this manga Library Wars was the opening to my manga reading experience, and the Mermaid Boys being the honorable mention of being the first shoujo manga that I ever bought for myself with my own money and everything like that, because Sailor Moon doesn't count because my parents definitely got me that. The next series that I didn't realize I had read so early in my manga reading journey was Beauty Pop. And I also used to have this series, but unfortunately I had to sell this because I had like a very immediate and unexpected surgery like 2 years ago, because I didn't have insurance at the time. So I sold off like a bunch of manga trying to help pay for that, because I needed to have it right away. But Beauty Pop was so amazing. It was so different than definitely Library Wars and anything I had read thus far. And it gave me a lot of America's Next Top Model vibes. I don't know why that was, I guess maybe it was like a nostalgic read in that kind of sense, because I never knew that there could be a story that sort of captures the funness of, say, like a movie or TV show that you enjoy. I had watched a lot of America's Next Top Model with my mom in high school, and it was one of my fond memories that I have, because she had to start working night shifts, and so I hardly ever saw her, but like whatever day that it came on, every night for that hour, we would always make time to watch it together. So it was a really special thing for me, and finding Beauty Pop I felt was just very nostalgic read, even though I had never read it, but it captured that beauty element that I really loved in America's Next Top Model. Like, not beauty as in pretty, but they're doing makeup, they're doing fashion, and they have to meet certain challenges to help be the best in that challenge that they're doing. I love seeing the transformations, and Beauty Pop took what I loved even deeper and showed you don't have to be all about superficial beauty. And because in the story for our main girl, which I'm totally blanking on her name, she wanted to just help, I guess you would say, strengthen the natural beauty of the people she was doing transformations on. She wanted them to feel even more beautiful and see the beauty that they already had. I did do a video review on this series because I checked it out from my library as well. I really, really enjoyed it, and I'm not sure if there's much else I can say about it except for I just feel like it took interest that I loved and put it in fiction. It put it in manga form. And I guess for some reason, I didn't feel I would find anything ever like that. I mean, I know I just talked about loving action movies and military movies and seeing that in Library Wars, but I felt like Library Wars was like a special occasion that I may not find anything like that again, at least at that time when I read it. And so when Beauty Pop came around and I read it, and that was also when I started experiencing the awesomeness of my library system, that they'd have an older series like this. There was just so much more out there in manga that I never knew. And Beauty Pop is a little bit more romance focused than Library Wars was. And I was starting to see like, hey, it is okay for me to love romance, because I feel around that time, that is when I started reading contemporary romance and was like, you know, I don't have to be embarrassed that I like this, because I was really heavily into the Christian writers community, yes, but it was a fantasy speculative kind of fiction group. And I felt like maybe it was wrong for me to enjoy things that were not strictly fantasy, that strictly had nothing to do with paranormal or any of that. And I feel like because of that, reading Beauty Pop, that was another huge stepping stone for me in my manga reading journey of seeing there is so much variety. Now, granted, I've only read 2, but just at that time, I felt like, wow, there is just a lot out there. There's things that I can find that I like, and I don't have to like read things maybe like horror. I'm not a big horror fan at all, or into like gore and everything. And that all these ideas that I had believed for so long that manga was, Beauty Pop, Library Wars, they're breaking all of those lies up. No, that is not all that manga is. There's so much variety out there, and Beauty Pop played a huge role in that. And I'm just so thankful. And I didn't realize that I read it so early on in my journey. But for the big one, for number 3, I read this manga in 2020, forever changed my life, and that is Kimi ni Todoke, From Me to You. My friend TheMangaSloth had recommended this manga to me, him and his wife did, and I remember checking it out, and I remember reading it from my library, checked out from my library, and reading it over my kiddo's Christmas break, and it was amazing. It was incredible. I don't think I can ever capture how impactful it was on my life at that time. I do have a review on this channel. I don't know if I didn't watch my review before this or anything, so I don't even know if I captured it, but I remember reading anywhere I could during that Christmas break. I remember staying up till 11 o'clock. It wasn't even New Year's, and just reading. One of those days, I think I read like 7 volumes in a day, which was groundbreaking for me. I had never done that before then. I think like with Library Wars, I was on average reading like 3 a day, and Beauty Pop, I don't even know if I read that many in a day. But with Kimi ni Todoke, I will never forget that experience, because that is the manga that got me into shoujo. That is the manga that made me aware of what shoujo is. I felt so many emotions, and it was just an up-down roller coaster of feeling so much happiness, sadness, crying, even more happiness, and just feeling like I was in this other space of happiness. There have been manga that have captured that, a very similar feeling, but none the same way that Kimi ni Todoke did, where like I left that manga and I was like, I love this. I want more of this. This is what I've been looking for, that I've been looking for shoujo manga, more or less. And though, yes, it's geared towards a female audience, anyone can read it and appreciate it, but there was just something so incredibly special about those characters and about that story that just captivated my heart. And even to this day, with even as how much I love Library Wars, and I do have Kimi ni Todoke somewhere on my shelf. I didn't think about pulling it out before. Oh, here we go. I didn't think about pulling out any of these, but I finished collecting this because I read it from the library, and I told my husband, I was like, this is such a special series. This is a series I must have for myself. And when I saw that Library Wars was going out of print, I told my husband, I was like, I'm so sorry, but I was like, I do not feel bad about buying the last volumes that I need before it gets really hard to find, and I'm so glad that I did that. The Kimi ni Todoke, I think I did have to wait. No, I got it right before it went out of stock, like everywhere before the pandemic or during the pandemic, because it's just a series that I have come back to so many times. It doesn't matter what volume that I'm like, you know what, I just want to read some Kimi ni Todoke today. I pull out a volume today, or not today, but I'm saying like in the now, and I love it just as much as I did back then, even maybe more so. I adored this series, and if Library Wars was the manga that got me into manga, and Beauty Pop helping me to see and making me more aware of what manga is in general, not just shoujo, but manga and all of the wide variety that we have. Then Kimi ni Todoke was the manga that said, I want shoujo manga specifically. I want more of it. I don't have to just read things like My Hero Academia or One Punch Man, which were the only manga at that time that I was familiar with. No, there's romance, and it's incredible, and it's about these teenagers who just stole my heart. They're precious little beings. They're so amazing. And so I'm so thankful for these series, for how they changed me, for how they shaped me into the shoujo manga reader I am today. I never knew that when I started Library Wars, that honestly it would lead to me being hooked on shoujo. That majority of all of the manga that I read today is shoujo manga. And it's so awesome because my husband's not a huge manga reader, but we did start Kimi ni Todoke, and he has loved it as I knew he would. And it makes my heart happy. It makes my heart happy for the people who introduced these series to me, to the people who have recommended series, not just, Library Wars, Beauty Pop, and Kimi ni Todoke. In fact, I don't even know who recommended Beauty Pop, how I even got my hands on that series, but I'm thankful for whoever played a role, because all of those people have helped me to see the amazingness, the beauty, and the incredibleness of manga, though specifically shoujo manga. I'm so very thankful for these series. Again, they have shaped me into who I am today. Who knows what my journey would look like specifically when it comes to manga if I didn't read these series. I don't know, but I read them, and here we are. And so I just want to talk about these 3 series, I guess Mermaid Boys, of how they impacted me and again shaped me to who I am today. I've read so much shoujo manga. I am much more familiar with shoujo manga. Love it so very much. Shoujo manga has my heart. It will continue to do so. It will continue to have a hand on my wallet because there's plenty more that are coming up that I'm very excited for. And definitely stay tuned, because I do have a video talking about my top 10 most anticipated 2024 for shoujo and josei releases of next year. I think that video is coming out in like 2 weeks, I think it is. But anyway, that is everything that I wanted to share about this video. I hope that you enjoy it, and I would love to hear from you, friends. What are some manga or shoujo manga that got you into manga, that started your manga reading journey? I would love to hear from you, friends. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. And thank you so much for watching. Bye!